John Sparks, it is a pleasure to have you in the Trump 100 studio. You're looking a little shell-shocked. Is this jet lag or whiplash from Trump world?
Mark, I think it's a bit of both.
It's still intense.
It's. I think for journalists, I mean, it's sort of maximum overload, isn't it?
Yeah, one thing, another thing. You don't know whether you're coming or going. I'm Mark Stone.
And I'm John Sparks, Sky News' international correspondent. It's Wednesday, the 9th of July, day 170 of Trump's second term. And this is episode 152 of Trump 100. How am I doing?
You're doing well, and we're still going. 152 episodes in. Perfectly done, John. Today, we're going to be talking about Ukraine, a surprise U-turn by the White House. Trump literally telling all in an extraordinary and illuminating cabinet meeting. I didn't get to listen to it because I was out and about on Capitol Hill. You did. We will get into all of that. Why did he U-turn on Ukraine? What's happening on Gaza? And what else did they discuss? Let's get into it. So, John, welcome to the Trump 100 studio here in DC. It's good to have you here.
It's good to be here, really.
Good. You're here via quite a few Sky bureaus, aren't you?
Yeah, I've worked in Bangkok.
Yeah.
Had a stint in Moscow with Sky, and then I went on to be the Africa correspondent in Johannesburg. And you know, one thing, wherever you go is always true. The United States matters. It matters to everybody. You know, every country thinks they have a special relationship with the United States, or at least they did.
They thought they did.
They thought they did.
Yeah, and now they're scrambling to work out what that relationship might be, and it does feel like these relationships are changing day by day. You know, one of the stories that has emerged today is copper and massive tariffs on copper. We'll talk a bit more about that in a minute because it was one of the issues that came up in that mammoth cabinet meeting. But first of all, Gaza. We have just as we started recording, we learnt that the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has just left the White House. It is, what time is it here now? It's just gone 6:30 in the evening in Washington. This was a meeting that wasn't expected. We obviously know that Netanyahu has been here. He arrived late Sunday night, early Monday morning. He's not leaving till Thursday. They had dinner last night, didn't they? But this meeting was unexpected. Another meeting as they try to get close to a ceasefire.
That's right. I mean, and you have had access to sources at the talks. We know that Trump is after a ceasefire deal. He wants a ceasefire deal on Gaza, and he wants to be able to announce it, to present it as well.
To own it.
He wants to own it.
Yeah.
He wants it to be his.
You're right. We have had a few lines coming out from various sources that have been speaking. To me, they've been talking to others as well. It's the jigsaw is beginning to come together. We know that there are negotiators in Qatar at the moment, mediators. The Qataris are the mediators. Hamas on one side, Israel on the other. They're not in the same room, but they are trying to hammer out a deal. And we know that there have been a few key sticking points. One of them has been the issue of humanitarian aid. Who distributes it? How is it distributed? For the past few months, it's been done by GHF, isn't it? The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is kind of it's a bit of an obscure organization.
It is. I mean, it is formed by a couple of U.S. contractors. Not a great deal is known about it. I mean, the Israelis and the Americans have had a role in putting it together. They operate 4 hubs in Gaza. The UN has been bringing in around 50, 60 trucks as well. The contents of those trucks rarely get to the locations that
and Palestinians are dying at these sites because there's a kind of crush, and aid organizations have said this isn't the way to do it. It needs to be done a different way. Now, this has been one of the sticking points, and Hamas appears to have insisted that the GHF is not involved. And the agreement seems to be that neither Hamas nor Israel will have any involvement in the distribution of aid. Instead, it will be done by the UN, it will be done by other aid organizations. So that is that issue resolved, bridged between the two sides. The second is the issue of this 60-day ceasefire. It's not a permanent ceasefire, it's 60 days. Hamas's concern all along has been, well, just at the end of 60 days, Israel's just going to roll back in again, as they did incidentally last time. They said Hamas didn't stick to their side of it, and so they rolled back in. What is really interesting here is that Trump himself has given a commitment to Hamas that he will ensure that Israel goes beyond 60 days. I don't know what you make of that. It's interesting.
it raises a couple of thoughts in my mind. What is a Trump commitment on this issue worth? I mean, he's an unpredictable man. Does Hamas trust him? Do they trust him do they hold him to it? How do they hold him to it? I think the second thing is that there's an irreconcilable set of issues here for the Israelis and Hamas. Netanyahu has pledged repeatedly to the total elimination of Hamas. They want is the Israelis to withdraw, and they want the war to stop. I mean, those are irreconcilable demands from both parties. So when you get to the second stage of these ceasefires, as we saw last time, that broke down. Yeah. How did they get through it this time?
Exactly, and that brings us on to the third issue, which they have not yet bridged, and that is the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. Where do they withdraw to? Do they withdraw from Gaza? Do they stay in some areas? From an Israeli perspective, they want to stay in control of areas of Gaza, because if they don't, then Hamas will regroup, rearm, and then attack once again. That is their view. So that is the issue that is not resolved, and it could be quite a long time before it is. So best case scenario, they get it resolved over the next couple of days. Somehow we know that we think, but there is some reporting out there that Israel is now reissuing some new maps so Hamas can look at them, of new proposals of where they put the IDF. But there are two things going on. You've got these sort of in-depth negotiations in Doha, and then you've got these two leaders kind of waiting to be able to announce something.
Yeah. And they've certainly built in the time to get a deal done into this visit, but it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, it was interesting listening to a mammoth cabinet meeting / press conference this afternoon. Trump did address the issue. He said, we hope it's going to get done by the end of the week. We hope it's going to get done. So there's certainly a level of uncertainty there.
Incidentally, he did say last week that he thought it would get done by the end of last week. So, he simplifies things. He's often, he says, I want to stop the killing. That is his phrase. And I actually think that's sincere. I had dinner last night with a man who's known Trump for many years. He emphasized that point, that Trump genuinely wants to be a peacemaker. And this person who I had dinner with, and I've heard it, so many people say it, that Trump's unorthodox style, he's not the diplomat, he does things differently, he thinks outside the box, all that stuff we've heard before. Those traits could enable Trump to do something that other leaders have been unable to do. What's also true is that he genuinely craves a Nobel Peace Prize. He wants to cement his legacy as a peacemaker, and the idea of being given the Nobel Peace Prize is something he really craves. And Netanyahu offered it to him last night.
I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, baby.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's a great honor.
But I think that in the context of wanting peace and wanting to stop the killing, I think the complexities of these conflicts are sometimes lost or ignored by Trump, whether it be Ukraine or Gaza. They're of secondary importance. Can he get a ceasefire here? Maybe. Can it be long-term? I'm not so sure, because it doesn't, in the context of Gaza, and you can apply this to Ukraine, it doesn't solve the underlying issues. But John, the cabinet meeting, tell us about that. I mean, this is, incidentally, I guess it's the first cabinet meeting you've watched.
Yeah, it is certainly the first one I watched from beginning to end. Yeah. And can I say it was pushing 2 hours at the end of it. And it's clear that these meetings don't meet any of the clear objectives of any real meeting that you or I have ever attended, i.e., they're not talking or debating any issues. They're definitely not going to come to a resolution on anything. It's basically a press conference. It's a campaign ad where his top officials come in and do a brief cameo praising the boss, doing homage to him, but it's all about Trump, isn't it?
Yeah. It very much is. It feels like there's a kind of level of sycophancy around it when different people speak. It's a very strange vibe. The people around him, they're true believers in the cause. They're true believers in his ability, Trump's ability to do things differently, as we just discussed, to get things done. But the vibe is odd.
I mean, one of the things I thought was interesting was there was real news going on there.
Yeah.
There was real news being dripped through, often unsuspectingly to those listening in like myself. But
and flipping from story to story, subject to subject.
A bewildering number of topics that were dealt with, like Trump's feelings on Vladimir Putin right now. And I think we have to say the bromance is over, Mark.
Yeah.
We wanted to put defensive weapons because Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So we're sending some defensive weapons to Ukraine, and I've approved that. A lot of people are dying, and it should end. And I don't know, we get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin. For you want to know the truth, he's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
So real frustration expressed by Trump, and I think events from last Friday night have got something to do with it. The Russians hit Kyiv with a massive bombardment, probably the biggest of the war, hundreds of drones, ballistic missiles as well. And that bombardment started about an hour after Trump had got off the phone with Putin. They'd spoken for about an hour. It was a lengthy conversation. At the end of that, Trump said, well, I haven't made any progress. That was the phrase. I haven't made any progress.
Which, in the context of Gaza, shows you why he's desperate to get something on Gaza, because he's almost admitting openly now, I'm not actually getting anywhere with that issue, Ukraine, which he said he could solve in a day. He's got to find a win somewhere else. And Gaza, he thinks maybe he can get it. But those were striking words by Trump about Putin.
And in the meeting, it took a surprising turn because he started talking about supplying Ukraine with weapons again. I mean, and this is not something that people were expecting.
Yeah, the context here is that last week we got a sort of unexpected announcement from the Pentagon that a whole range of different weapons that were being delivered to Ukraine, were flowing to Ukraine, were actually not going. It was going to stop. I got on the phone quite quickly to someone on Capitol Hill who I speak to regularly, close watcher of all things Ukraine. And he was like, look, this is bewildering. We did not expect this at all. And the sense we got last week was that this was a case of Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, jumping the gun, doing something that the White House was not aware of. That has turned out to be the case. Trump wouldn't admit it in so many words, but he's U-turned on that now and said, actually, we are going to continue supplying that. And it gives you a sense of the sort of level of disorganization going on between different departments here in Washington with real life consequences.
Yeah, the level of personal feeling that is directing national policy.
Yeah.
You know, Trump's not happy, and I'm going to start supplying the Ukrainians with Patriot missiles again, and precision-guided bombs as well, and precision-guided missiles. I mean, there were concerns at the time last week when he said, we're going to stop supplying these things because we're running low on our own personal stocks. I mean, people were worried that the Americans were going to continue to pull away from Ukraine, and that it's really been turned on its face today.
Yeah, but then where will we be in a week? Putin will get on the phone, they'll have a good call, and Trump's view will change again. Very, very hard to keep up. What else? Rattle through a few of the other things.
My fingers were sore from all the writing. I mean, we talked about copper.
Yeah.
50% tariff on copper. I just had a look just before we came in. I can tell you that the futures price of copper has skyrocketed this evening. It's an important metal.
I had a text message from the ambassador of a country that does have a copper industry, and it was an unhappy face emoji. And I said, "What can be done about it?" And he replied, "Consulting now." I mean, we were talking about this earlier. That there are diplomats from so many different countries on so many different issues here in Washington trying to knock on the right doors to find out what's going on, to find out what deals they can do.
Extraordinary. And he didn't stop at copper. He said very large tariffs are in the pipeline for pharmaceuticals. 200%, he said. I mean, that would completely change the game. Computer chips as well. Big tariffs coming on computer chips as well. Another thing I thought was absolutely fascinating was that he seems to be losing interest in the whole thing around negotiating trade deals, right? After Liberation Day at the end of April, he signaled that they would have 90 deals. Obviously, negotiating these deals is time-consuming, really complex.
Yeah.
And Trump doesn't have the patience to do that. And he did say that, look, I'm not going to be doing them. We don't have the time to do this. He even said at one point during the cabinet meeting, if other countries drop their tariffs, I don't care anymore. He just seems to be ready to wash his hands with the whole tariff business. So pretty significant, really. Yeah.
The other thing, and I think sometimes we kind of like, I'm here obviously living it every day. I kind of normalize the abnormal nature of these moments, like a 2-hour cabinet meeting where basically one guy speaks and fires. I mean, it's incredibly accessible, loads of questions back and forth. You don't necessarily get very transparent answers, but it's accessible, right? What are your sort of takeaways having sat through it all as an outsider?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get over the homage that is paid to him at every stage by everybody who is invited into the conversation. And to be honest, I mean, they're really playing minor roles, aren't they? They come in, they talk about Trump's leadership and praise him, talk a little bit about what they're doing, and then it's back to Trump. And he's really left just to muse on the world as he sees it, on modernity, the economy, politics, the Democrats. They're all hopeless, of course, he says.
Yeah.
Trump on Trump. I mean, it's 2 hours of Trump about whatever pops into his mind. I mean, he even spent the last 10 minutes of this cabinet meeting discussing artwork and decor in the cabinet room. Why? I mean, it's 10 minutes that you don't get back.
Welcome to Trump world, John. Welcome to Trump world. One other story to update you on, immigration related, and it is in Los Angeles where there's been such a focus on immigration, and an incident in MacArthur Park in LA.
Yeah, this is the story of the National Guard troops and federal officers descending on a central Los Angeles park to do an immigration sweep on Monday, which has prompted criticism from the mayor and accusations of a political stunt.
Yeah, the scenes were pretty remarkable. I saw it first thing when I woke up this morning. Dozens of law enforcement officers sweeping the park. The LA mayor, of course, a Democrat, no fan of Donald Trump. She called it an outrageous and un-American act.
I'll be here for a week. We'll be keeping an eye, a very close eye actually, on proceedings on the West Coast. It doesn't feel like this is going to go away.
No, it doesn't. Anyway, plenty more over the course of the week. We'll be watching for all the updates on the Gaza ceasefire. Will it happen? Will Netanyahu have to stay longer? Will he go home without a ceasefire? Let us see. We will be back tomorrow for much, much more. Trump100 at sky.uk. That is the email address. Questions, comments, thoughts, send them in.
This was fun. I'll come back.
Please do. You're here for a week or so. So please do. See you tomorrow.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Mark.
Bye-bye.